What did the strange kid in your school do to make them so strange? Chronic nose picker. Anytime, anywhere, no shame. Pretty much only talked about hunting. Apparently he also got caught getting his dick sucked by a calf. That'll put a damper on your social life. She hissed like a cat, scratched other students, and called the teacher's master. 1. When asked what he would do if he could freeze time, he creepily said that he would use it to rape people. 2. In a discussion between myself and some female friends about the ups and downs of having boobs, he interjected and asked if he could feel one of the girls in his creepy nasal voice. 3. In math class, he would crawl underneath the computer tables, wait for a girl in a skirt to sit down, wait a bit, then crawl out from directly in front of where they were sitting and exclaim, "Nice view." 4. When someone said his eyebrows touched, he said, "It's called a unibrow. Ever heard of it?" in a way that almost suggested he was proud. 5. He would walk up to people and claim that he masturbated 10 times a day and it took him 5 seconds to come. That's 6 minutes a week, 25 minutes a month, and 5 hours a year. For comparison, someone masturbating once a day for 7 minutes would total 44 hours a year. He does it 10 times more, but for a tenth of the time. Yeah, we did the math. 6. He was obsessed with getting to class exactly on time. One day, he ran into class like 2 seconds after the bell rung, obviously angry, and threw his stuff down, knocking over books and shit. When asked what was wrong, he yelled that the teacher kept him 2 minutes late after class, and that now he was late, and then he started crying. 7. He was a fast runner, and constantly bragged about it. This wasn't weird, just annoying. Told everyone his name was Soul Reaper. He was the self-proclaimed gangster emperor and a vampire. He would run around with his forearm over his face, like he was shielding himself from the sun with a pretend cape, hide in the shade and hiss at people as they walked by. Sometimes he would charge them when he hissed and chase them away. If they didn't run, he would do his little cape thing and flee back to the shadows. Wore historically accurate British Royal Navy uniforms around campus a few days a week. He was a really nice guy and very knowledgeable about history. Pretty eccentric though. In first grade the teacher took back our fat beginner pencils and handed out our first big kid pencils, the thin yellow ones with an eraser on the end. We felt so grown up as we carefully stowed our new treasures in our desks and went out for recess. And weird Kevin snuck back inside and ate the erasers off each and every one of our new pencils. While on a school sports trip, we stopped at a Denny's for lunch. He sat at a table by himself and shouted at the waitress to get me another Coke, bitch, like 3 times. He ate his burger so fast that it got stuck in his throat, I think. No biggie, he just pushed it down his throat with his fork, to the horror of the other nearby diners. That's just one example. Here is some more info. I didn't actually see him much in school, only at track practice. He wore the same uniform every day, cute tough jeans and combat boots. Yes, he ran in boots. He either pretended the rest of us didn't exist, or he would glare at us and mutter under his breath. He threw up a lot, before, during, and after practice. I'm pretty sure he threw up that burger at the track meet we were headed to, in front of a bunch of other runners. The worst part was, he was a terrible runner. He insisted on distance races, but was not good at it. He would talk shit, scary shit, at the starting line, and then literally sprint the beginning of the race. He dropped out of every race he ran, because he was too tired to finish. Poor bastard. He spoke like an old-timey fisherman. He also played the accordion and the harmonica. He said he lived on a boat, but I think he just loved the idea of it. He grew long 1800s style sideburns and wore a sailor's cap to school. He also spoke in a weird old English type of way. Edit. This kid didn't get bullied at all because he was so weird. Everybody loved him, but in all seriousness he must have been fucked up because he was like a pre-Titanic fisherman. 1. Got a giant dragon tattoo on his back when he was 15. 2. Always ran around at full speed, hunched over, like he was a character in Naruto. 3, parkoured over everything imaginable. Not 100% on this, but I think he was a ninja. She would always have conversations with herself during class, often while the teacher was speaking. One day she showed up and had shaved the front of her hair so that it looked like she had a horrible receding hairline. After a couple of weeks like that, she took to wearing Halloween wigs. She'd sometimes talk about her pet flying squirrel and nobody believed she actually had one. So she started trying to take him to school with her every so often and always get into trouble. During lunch she would sit by herself at a table, pick a person out and literally mimic their every move for the entire lunch period. Very bizarre. I knew a kid like this. 6 months after he graduated, he came back for alumni day and told a story about how he managed to get a single dorm room by gluing his shoes to the ceiling, waiting for his roommate to walk in, then roll on the floor moaning and clutching his head. He moaned and clutched his head when he told the story. I was on stage, and I was the only one in the auditorium who laughed, because that shit is hilarious. 1. He snorted bird shit off of a car in the high school parking lot for $5. 2. He got caught jerking off in the woodshop closet. Girl at my high school drove a hearse. She was goth. Her brother was caught with a death list and was expelled. Stare at you while you have conversations. Laugh at jokes they overhear, but are not a part of. Sit at random lunch tables with people, even though they were not friends with those people. Never talk. I was this person. He tried to kill a classmate with a screwdriver. He also stuck cinnamon Tic Tacs up his own nose. I can still hear the screaming. The kid's name was Gerrit. He also told us, after he pissed himself, that he did it because it was warm. He rolled in mud puddles often. Gerrit liked to eat pencils. Not just the erasers, the whole thing. One day, a teacher was talking to our class about kids being reckless. She told us the story of her daughter's friend who played Russian roulette and then died, and how his funeral was this Saturday. The kid raised his hand and asked if the guy actually died, while stifling a laugh. When the teacher replied yes, kid bursts out laughing for a solid 2 to 3 seconds. Edit. For more stories. Okay, so most of these stories occur in 8th/9th grade. This story was late 8th grade. So word got around that this kid was suicidal. Whether he was or not, I don't know, but I think his lack of ability to connect with people socially made him unhappy. Well, one day the class gets together to make him a giant ass card/poster thing telling him how much we love him, so he wouldn't kill himself. So a group of kids in our math class stays during lunch to make this poster. Apparently, no one informed me, so I walk in and everyone's like, "We love you." And I see the card, and I'm weirded out, and I keep asking people if it was his birthday or something, and everyone keeps telling me to shut up. Eventually, I figured it out. One thing that pissed me off though, was that my GF at the time was one of the people who worked on the card, and she wrote "You're better than HP," my initials, on the card, and signed her name. Which felt weird and unnecessary to me, especially as this was pretty early in our relationship. Anyway, kid was pretty weird about it, but he seemed to like the attention, even if he wouldn't admit it. For 2 solid weeks he went around giving people tiny ass cards like the one he got, claiming that he wasn't in need of a card any more than anyone else. Would consume their juice boxes by spraying the juice on his shirt and sucking the juice out of his shirt in high school. This one kid was really into the whole furry culture. He wore a dog collar and constantly drew pictures of anthropomorphic animals with huge breasts. He was also one of those people who pathologically lie. If you're a furry, I mean that's great and all, but being out and proud about it just got him eaten alive in high school. Damn it, I'm too late for this one, but a girl I went to school with would constantly be trying to turn into a Super Saiyan. People would walk by and say, "Power up Christy," and she would start screaming and trying to charge up. I always thought it was kind of fucked up and not funny though. When I was in junior high there was a guy who could recite the weather forecast for each of the next 5 days. Clever kids that we called him the weatherman. That was decades before the net/iPhone, so was actually kind of handy. Give everyone weird nicknames. I was Poultry Lizard.